This is a strange story about how I came to meet author Henry Lincoln in Rennes-Le-Chateau. When I was a kid, I really liked stories about knights. A lot of boys do. I had a lot of King Arthur books. This was one of them. King Arthur and his Knights. Fairly thick book. It doesn't even have an author's name on it. But I had about 10, and I read them several times each. And most of you know the myth of King Arthur, where he grew up, became king, pulled the sword out of the stone, and assembled a bunch of knights around a round table, and they went questing for the Holy Grail and ran into a lot of monsters and sorcerers and different traps. But so the Holy Grail part never really interested me as much as the knights. I'm not sure why the Holy Grail never really grabbed me as a great quest, even though I did like treasure, but it wasn't really my thing. Ark of the Covenant, on the other hand, was. Anyway, in the 80s, this movie came out too, Excalibur. And me and my brothers must have watched this at least a dozen times. I highly recommend it. If you've never seen Excalibur, it does hold the test of time fairly well. It's still an entertaining movie. And the last of the Indiana Jones movies came out, and it was also about the Holy Grail. I felt that was a bit of a cop-out compared to what it could have been, but it's still a half-decent movie. Like a lot of people in 2003, I read Dan Brown's The Da Vinci Code, and my mom, God rest her soul, she got me this what do you call it, like a hardcover collector's edition of The Da Vinci Code and Angels and Demons, Dan Brown. I didn't like it quite this much, but there you have it. The ideas in the book were interesting, and it was a worthwhile pulp read. Many of you might know that the ideas in that book were based on a different book called Holy Blood, Holy Grail. And that was written by Michael Bagent, Richard Lee, and Henry Lincoln in 1982, which is more of a... The theories in that book are that, there was an organization, secret organizations meant to protect the Holy Grail, and the Holy Grail might actually be the bloodline of Jesus Christ, a child of a child of a child of a child, or that it might be protecting the actual cup, or it might be protecting a vial of blood, or it might be protecting the remains of Mary, the Virgin Mary, or the remains of Mary Magdalene, or different things like that. So it was very interesting, the whole concepts in all of those books. And when I was in London in 2005, I went to the Temple Church. And the Temple Church is a Templar church which features prominently in the Da Vinci Code. And it was closed because they were filming the Da Vinci Code in the church. And God, I was angry at Tom Hanks because of that for quite a while. I went back to London the next year, and I did get in the Temple Church and took a look around inside. So, at some point in all of this, I read this book, which is Rat Scabies and the Holy Grail by Christopher Dawes. This is a very funny, entertaining read. Rat Scabies, it's about the author and this guy Rat Scabies, he was a drummer for a band called The Damned, and I very much liked The Damned. The Damned were one of the very first punk bands, and I saw them a couple of years ago. It was a great show in Toronto, and the guitarist, halfway through the set, fell off the stage. And the guy's a senior citizen. They had to take him out on a stretcher. I've never been at a show where the guitarist was there and then suddenly he wasn't there. The crowd went silent and nobody knew what to do. They just pulled the poor guitarist off the stage, and we missed a lot of the good songs because the encore wasn't there. But thankfully Captain Sensible was okay, and sounds like he recovered. I don't know if I'll ever get to see another Damned tour. Anyway, In 2011, I was going to France with my friend Lynn. She really wanted to visit Carcassonne, and I'd agreed to go with her. So we went down to Carcassonne, but while we were planning on that, I said, you know what, there's this town called Rennes-Le-Chateau. Rennes-Le-Chateau features prominently in Holy Blood, Holy Grail, and I thought, I would like to see this little town, because there's kind of a mystery surrounding it. And the mystery surrounding Rennes-Le-Chateau is that this priest built a giant lavish, not a giant church, a very small but very lavish church, and very lavish church grounds, and there's no way he should have had the money to do that. And a lot of the authors of Holy Blood, Holy Grail thought that this town is an integral key into finding the Holy Grail. Something like that, you know, or that this church works with secret societies to protect the blood of Christ, or secret remains, or the Ark of the Covenant, or the treasures of Solomon, any number of things. So Lynn and I went to Carcassonne, and Carcassonne's an old Templar kind of walled-in city. It's fantastic if you've never been there. Definitely worth checking out. So we did the drive to Rennes-Le-Chateau one day, and it's a very meandering path up the mountain, and I'd never driven in France, and she was totally terrified. So so we got there, and we toured the church. We went in the church, and you know, we saw Asmodeus, which is this demon holding the holy water bowl, and we saw the two Jesuses on either side of the altar, and it's like, there's Jesus on that side. Well, who's that? And you know, the theories are that's his twin brother Thomas, and a lot of people are like, Jesus had a twin? He had a twin brother named Thomas? Well, maybe he did. You know, why is he there? Why is he there twice on either side? So we saw, but Lynn said, I gotta get the hell out of here. She couldn't stand, she was in the church for, it's an amazing sight, this church, and she couldn't hang out in there. It just freaked her out so badly. She left after about 3 or 4 minutes. But, you know, we toured the rest of the grounds. We went to the presbytery and the villa, and the Magdala Tower, and we saw the garden, and we saw the tomb where the priest who'd done all of this is buried. And it's like, did you carry a secret to your grave, or were you just taking money for prayers that you never did? Which is one of the theories, that he was just a con artist for rich people. Anyway, so after touring the Rennes-Le-Chateau, the greatest hits, we went for lunch at a place right in the middle of town called Bar and Restaurant au Jardin, which means bar and restaurant of the garden. And while we were having lunch, I had the Templar platter. I think it was like some salmon and nice fresh vegetables. And while we were eating, I saw an old man come in and sit down at one of the tables and light a cigarette. And I looked at Lynn and I said, that's Henry Lincoln. That is Henry Lincoln. And she said, who the hell is Henry Lincoln? And I said, it's the author of the book you have in the car, Holy Blood, Holy Grail. And she said, get out of here. How do you know that? And you know why? It's because of this book that I'd reread on the plane, Rat Scabies and the Holy Grail. Christopher Dawes described him so exact that I knew the old guy as soon as he walked in. I don't even think there's any pictures in there. No, there's no pictures in there. But he described him to a T. So I went over and I said, excuse me, you're not Henry Lincoln, are you? In French. And he said, I'm not? Well, there's some news. Very well, I'm not Henry Lincoln. And I said, oh, damn, you are. And he said, yeah, guilty. In French. So we had a photo taken with him, and it was cool. He was a nice guy, and I felt kind of bad after this because everybody from the entire outdoor restaurant had to come and meet Henry Lincoln and have their photo taken with the guy. But what an interesting, strange set of just a strange circumstance, you know. And one of the sayings in Rennes-Le-Chateau is there's no such thing as coincidence. So that's King Arthur, Excalibur, the Damned, Rat Scabies, Captain Sensible, Henry Lincoln, the Holy Grail. Never did find the Holy Grail. You know, these things, when you go, okay, Rennes-Le-Chateau has a Grail secret, you think, there is part of the back of your brain that goes, I'm going to find the damn Grail while I'm there. I'm just going to solve this puzzle in a mystery. I don't know what's wrong with these guys. But I didn't. I banged my head really hard walking out of restaurant Au Jardin. I smashed my fucking middle of my forehead. Hurt for a couple days. These medieval places, they're not made for guys that are 6'5". But that's my story about Rennes-Le-Chateau. And I think I covered everything. It's very twisted. Just a quick afterthought. Between Rennes-Le-Chateau and Carcassonne, if you ever find yourself in that corridor for any reason, there's a little town or city called Limoux. And Limoux, according to them, they made the original sparkling wine, which became champagne. Champagne, they say the Champagne region stole it off of them and started copying it. I don't know if that's true or not. But, so we stopped at their establishment, their factory or their winery or whatever you want to call it. And you do a little self-guided tour. And they have some taste tests at the end. And Blanquette de Limoux, I believe, is the big seller there. And the original champagne, I guess you want to call it. We bought a giant bottle of this stuff. We got back to the hotel in Carcassonne, and we polished it off in 15 minutes. It was that good. I mean, we just couldn't stop drinking. We were fighting over the last drops of it. It was that good. So that I do recommend. You know, if you don't find the Grail, stop and get yourself some champagne, and you know, wallow in your sadness of not finding the Grail with the most delicious thing you've ever drank in your life.